Hey everyone, welcome back! Today, this story starts with something small, square, curly, and probably sitting somewhere in a kitchen cabinet right now. Instant noodles. But this is not just a story about a quick snack. This is the story of Momofuku Ando, the man who looked at hunger, post-war struggle, and a bowl of ramen, then somehow turned hot water and 3 minutes into a global food revolution. So grab a snack, maybe even a suspiciously delicious cup of noodles, and let's meet the hidden chef behind instant noodles. Have you ever opened a packet of instant noodles at midnight and thought, wow, this tastes like survival, comfort, and questionable life choices all in one bowl? Maybe it was during exam week. Maybe it was after a long workday. Maybe it was 2 a.m., the fridge was empty, and the only thing standing between a person and emotional collapse was a tiny seasoning packet. But behind that humble block of noodles was not just a food product. There was a man. His name was Momofuku Ando, and he was not a celebrity chef with a fancy restaurant, dramatic knife skills, or a cooking show where everyone says, "beautiful," every 5 seconds. He was something different. He was an inventor, a businessman, a problem solver, and honestly, one of the most underrated food heroes of the modern world. To understand why instant noodles mattered so much, the story has to go back to Japan after World War II. The war had ended, but peace did not arrive with a full dinner table. Cities were damaged, families were struggling, food was limited. People stood in long lines just to get something hot to eat. Imagine walking through a cold street after the war. Buildings are broken. People are tired. Everyone is trying to rebuild their lives one day at a time. And then there is a line. A long line. Not for concert tickets. Not for a new phone. Not for limited edition sneakers. For ramen. A simple bowl of hot noodles. Momofuku Ando saw people waiting in the cold for food, and something clicked in his mind. He understood something very basic, but very powerful. When people are hungry, food is not just food. Food is dignity. Food is comfort. Food is hope in a bowl. Ando believed that peace could come when people had enough to eat. That idea sounds simple, almost too simple. But sometimes the biggest ideas are not complicated. Sometimes they are just deeply human. At that time, Japan was receiving wheat flour, partly from the United States. The government encouraged people to eat bread made from wheat. But Ando wondered, why bread? Japanese people were already familiar with noodles. Noodles were part of daily food culture. They were warm, filling, and comforting. So why not make noodles that could be stored, transported, and prepared easily? Sounds obvious now, right? But back then, it was not obvious at all. Fresh noodles spoiled quickly. Dried noodles took time to cook. Ramen shops needed kitchens, staff, broth, bowls, and customers willing to wait. Ando wanted something almost magical. A noodle that could be kept for a long time. A noodle that already had flavor. A noodle that could be cooked just by adding hot water. A noodle that anyone could prepare, even if their cooking skill level was basically, can boil water, maybe. That was the dream. But the dream was not born in a giant research lab with scientists in white coats and dramatic background music. It was born in a small wooden shed behind his house in Ikeda, Osaka. Yes, a shed. Not exactly the glamorous birthplace of a global food empire. Inside that little workspace, Ando experimented day after day. He tested flour, water, seasonings, heat, drying methods, and probably questioned his life choices more than once. His goal was clear, but the path was messy. The noodles had to be tasty, they had to cook quickly, they had to last a long time, they had to be easy to produce, they had to be safe to eat. That is a lot to ask from a block of noodles. At first, nothing worked perfectly. Some noodles became too soft, some broke apart, some probably tasted like sadness with salt. But Ando kept going. And then inspiration came from an ordinary kitchen moment. One day, Ando saw his wife frying tempura. When food was placed into hot oil, moisture escaped quickly. The surface became dry and crisp, but the food could later absorb water again. That gave Ando an idea. What if noodles could be steamed, seasoned, and then flash fried? The frying process would remove moisture, helping preserve the noodles. But when hot water was added later, the noodles could come back to life. Basically, the noodles would go into a crispy little sleep and wake up in 3 minutes. That was the breakthrough. Not a lightning bolt from the sky, not a secret ancient scroll, just a man watching tempura and thinking, wait a minute, what if noodles did that? In 1958, after many experiments, Momofuku Ando introduced the world's first instant noodles, Chicken Ramen. Chicken Ramen was revolutionary. The noodles were already seasoned. All people had to do was place them in a bowl, pour hot water over them, cover the bowl, and wait. That was it. No chef, no long cooking, no complicated recipe, no add 17 ingredients and massage the dough under a full moon. Just hot water. And that changed everything. But here's the funny part. When chicken ramen first appeared, it was not seen as cheap student food. It was actually more expensive than regular noodles at the time. So yes, instant ramen started out as the fancy new kid. People looked at it and thought, wait, noodles that cook themselves? Is this science? Is this magic? Is this allowed? Chicken ramen had something powerful. Convenience. And convenience is a very sneaky superpower. At first, people may resist it. Then they try it. Then they depend on it. Then suddenly, society cannot imagine life without it. Think about instant noodles today. College students eat them. Busy workers eat them. Travelers eat them. Families keep them at home. People customize them with eggs, vegetables, chili oil, cheese, leftover chicken, or whatever mysterious item is in the fridge. Instant noodles became not just food, but a platform, a blank canvas, a survival tool, a tiny edible emergency plan. Ando did not stop with chicken ramen. He kept thinking about how to make noodles even easier and more global. Years later, he noticed something interesting when trying to introduce instant noodles outside Japan. In some countries, people did not always have ramen bowls. They did not always use chopsticks. Some people broke the noodles into cups, poured hot water in, and ate them with forks. Instead of saying, "No, you are doing it wrong," Ando paid attention. That was one of his strengths. He observed how real people behaved. Not how companies wished people behaved, not how traditions said people should behave, but how hungry people actually solved problems. And from that observation came another legendary idea. Cup Noodles. In 1971, Nissin launched Cup Noodles, a product that put the noodles, seasoning, toppings, cooking container, and eating bowl into one package. That may sound normal today, but at the time, it was genius. The cup was not just packaging. The cup was cookware. The cup was a bowl. The cup was part of the invention. It was food design at its finest. Open the lid, add hot water, wait, eat. That was not just a meal. That was a system. And honestly, it is still one of the greatest examples of make life easier design. No dishes? No problem. Tiny apartment? No problem. Office lunch? No problem. Hotel room with only a kettle and emotional fatigue? Absolutely no problem. Cup noodles helped instant ramen spread around the world. It crossed borders, cultures, and kitchens. And because it was so adaptable, every country could make it its own. Some versions became spicy, some became seafood flavored, some became beefy, creamy, cheesy, curry-filled, or terrifyingly hot. Instant noodles became a global language. A person may not speak Japanese, they may not know who Momofuku Ando was, but they probably understand the sound of peeling back a noodle cup lid. That sound says, dinner is happening. But Ando's story is not just about noodles. It is about persistence. He was not a young founder in a hoodie launching an app from a coffee shop. When chicken ramen came out, he was 48 years old. That matters. Because people often act like success has an expiration date. Like if someone has not changed the world by 25, they should just quietly become a houseplant. But Ando proved that reinvention can happen later. He had faced failure before. He had business problems, he had setbacks, he had lived through a difficult period in history. And still, he created something that reached billions of people. His life says, it is not too late to build something meaningful. Also, sometimes the world-changing idea is not glamorous. It might not look like a rocket. It might not look like artificial intelligence. It might not look like a luxury product. Sometimes it looks like noodles in a packet. That is what makes the story so good. Instant noodles are humble. They are everywhere. People joke about them. People eat them when they are broke, tired, busy, lazy, nostalgic, or just craving something salty and warm. But their invention came from a serious question. How can food reach more people more easily? That question still matters today. Food insecurity still exists. Convenience still matters. Affordable meals still matter. And the idea that technology should serve everyday human needs still matters. Momofuku Ando understood that innovation does not always mean making something more complicated. Sometimes innovation means making something simpler. And yes, people can debate whether instant noodles are healthy. No one is saying a packet of ramen is the same as a balanced meal with fresh vegetables and a responsible amount of sodium. Instant noodles are not a magic health potion, but they are useful. They are shelf-stable, they are easy to transport, they are quick to prepare, they can be improved with other ingredients, and in moments of need, they can help people get through the day. That was the heart of Ando's invention. Not perfection. Access. Not luxury. Practical comfort. Not fine dining. Food that shows up. And maybe that is why instant noodles became so beloved. They are there during strange little moments in life. During late-night study sessions. During rainy days. During first apartments. During travel. During heartbreak. During deadlines. During I forgot to buy groceries again, disasters. Instant noodles do not judge. They simply wait in the cupboard like a tiny square-shaped friend. Momofuku Ando passed away in 2007 at the age of 96, but his idea is still alive every day, all over the world. Billions of servings of instant noodles are eaten each year. That is not just business success. That is cultural impact. Ando did not just invent a food. He changed how people think about convenience, preservation, packaging, and everyday eating. He turned a bowl of ramen into something portable. He turned a kitchen process into a 3-minute ritual. He turned post-war hunger into a mission for accessible food. So the next time someone tears open a packet of instant noodles, drops the noodle block into a bowl, sprinkles in that magical seasoning powder, and waits for the steam to rise, they are not just making a quick snack. They are touching a piece of food history. A story that began in post-war Japan. A story shaped by hunger, patience, failure, creativity, and one very determined man in a backyard shed. Momofuku Ando was the hidden chef behind instant noodles. Not because he cooked every bowl, but because he cooked up the idea that food could be fast, affordable, and comforting for millions of people. And in a world that often feels complicated, that little block of noodles still delivers a simple message. Sometimes, hope only needs hot water and 3 minutes. And that is the story of Momofuku Ando, the hidden chef who proved that a big idea does not always need to look big. Sometimes, it looks like a little block of noodles waiting patiently in a packet. If this story made you see instant noodles a little differently, follow for more fun stories about the everyday inventions hiding in plain sight. And next time you hear that kettle boil, remember, history might be only 3 minutes away.